You know, growing up, we were all afraid of the red threat, at least my generation, okay? The commies were coming. The little school I went to in western North Carolina, it was a designated civil defense shelter. A little brick building. What was it going to do? I don't know. It had civil defense rations stored there. These were like crackers that would last 40 years. Rats wouldn't even eat this stuff, okay? But we were ready. We built up our army. We built up our Air Force. We built up our Navy. We were strong. We were ready for the commies. Come on. Then the Berlin Wall came down. Everybody high-fives everybody, and well, we won that one. The Cold War's over. We can relax. They're not the threat anymore. And as we began to relax and communism kind of faded off into the distance, secularism began to rise. And secularism and communism, there's no difference. They're both godless. And so when godless communism came down, we relaxed, and godless secularism slowly began to come up, and it has taken over and infiltrated Washington. It's gone from Washington, it's gotten into our state capitals. It has gone into our local cities. It has come into our schools, and it's taken over our universities. And we have taken God out of the public square. We've taken God out of politics. We've taken God out of every inch of public life. Secularism. And it didn't happen overnight, friends. It's come in over the last 30, 40 years. When I went to school, we had the 10 Commandments on the wall of the school. Now, you say, but Franklin, maybe the teacher didn't believe in the 10 Commandments. It didn't matter. God's commandments were on the wall for every student to see. We had a teacher. She led in the Lord's Prayer every day when I was growing up. Now, she might not have, or he might not have believed it or lived it. Didn't matter. It wasn't his prayer. It was the Lord's Prayer. And every student heard it. We used to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Many schools don't do that anymore. All of this is gone. My father said in 1976, he said, get involved in the political process. He said, this coming year is an election year. He said, I would like to challenge every deeply committed American who is qualified to think about running for political office. He said, I don't believe that we as Christians should withdraw. We need men and women of integrity and Christian commitment who will run for political office this coming year, no matter to what political party you belong. And you may say, but Franklin, how about separation of church and state? Well, how about it? Who said that? You mean that we as Christians cannot speak up publicly? You see, that's what the enemy is trying to do. Oh, separation of church and state. They don't want the Christian voice. They want to shut our mouths. We are citizens of the United States of America. We have every right to speak up. We have every right to take our faith into the halls of government. We have every right. You see, my father also said it's the duty of every Christian man and woman to offer themselves for public office. He said one reason we've had such bad political leaders is because in many places it's only the bad ones that offer themselves for service. There are many places where Christian men and women could get the vote if only they offer themselves. Daniel lived in one of the most corrupt pagan societies in history, and he served as prime minister under 7 kings and 2 empires. We need Daniels today in public office. In the last election, he said there was something like 20 to 30 million evangelical Christians did not vote in the last presidential election. Wow. We talk a lot about national elections, or who's going to be the president. And of course, it's entertaining today. You go home and watch the news at night, you know, it's, sometimes it's embarrassing. You have to turn the TV off. And that's what our politics has come down to. And I'm not here to support any candidate, and I'm not going to endorse any candidate. I'm not going to get behind anybody. But I am going to vote. We talk a lot about the national elections. But have you thought about the local elections? Mayor, how important it is that we have Christian mayors, Christian city council, county commissioners, school boards, judges. You say, but Franklin, I don't have time for all this. Well, did you know that many places in small towns, county commissioners or mayors or school boards, they only meet for just a few hours, maybe once a month? I mean, hey, you take your regular job, but you come in on a weekend or you come on during a weeknight for a few hours and go to City Hall and you work for a few hours. And I mean, I'm talking about smaller towns. Bigger cities is different, but the school boards, could you imagine that the majority of the school boards of America were controlled by Bible-believing Christians? The impact that that would have on this country for the next 20 to 30 years, it would be huge. What should I do, you say? Begin by forming prayer groups in your community. And within your prayer groups, ask people from different political persuasions to join you. And what unites you is your faith in Christ. But begin to look for people in your community, Christian men and women, that would be willing to run and get behind them. Have you ever heard the term community organizer? We need Christian community organizers, organizing the communities for God. Let's find Christian men and women who are willing to run and get behind them and help organize for them. You can do that. Become a Christian political activist. You thought the left only had terms like that. You know what? We need to steal those terms and use them ourselves, right? Let's become political activists for God. And let's get behind these candidates that stand for godly principles. As I said, 20 to 30 million people did not vote the last election. Elections are not decided by millions of votes. I have people tell me sometimes to say, Frank, listen, my vote doesn't count. Really? It doesn't count. Well, remember when Bush and Gore, was that decided by millions of votes? It was. They were counting hanging chads. Remember that? Down in Florida. That's how close it was. In 1974, in New Hampshire, race for the U.S. Senate, John Durkin, a Democrat, versus Louis Wyman, a Republican. On election day, Wyman wins by 355 votes, okay? Then a recount. Durkin won by 10 votes. They had another recount. Wyman wins by 2 votes. Well, they declared the seat vacant with no winner. They had a special election, and Durkin won by 27,000 votes. Now listen, we have to vote. You got to get out there and vote. You got to register, okay? If you're not registered, you get registered.